Most investors don't realize this, but the way you're investing could be costing you thousands of dollars and you may not even know about it. Well, today we're going to talk about it and find out if the stock market is actually the reason why your portfolio is lower than it is, or maybe the reason is you. Welcome to the Wealth Twin Show. Let's jump into it.
Wow, Nadia is starting with fire today. Well, really, we need to really talk about hidden costs based on habits that investors have. One of the habits I want to talk about today is actually parking cash in investment accounts and treating it like a bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the hidden cost with that is that you're getting hit with fees and you're leaving your money idle, so you're missing out on lots of market opportunities. Now, when it comes to investing, we want our money to work harder for us than we do at our jobs. But the only way our money could do that is if we're putting our money to work, which is buying investments where it allows it to actually grow. If your money is sitting in an investment account and actually not being invested, that money, if you consider being put to work, if you're going to invest, then that money is actually unemployed and therefore it cannot grow for us. So, one of the biggest habits you have to stop doing, if you are doing this currently, is take that money that is in an investment account that is sitting idle and actually start investing it.
Yeah, I know many people are going to be like, oh, that's not me. You wouldn't believe the amount of people we hear are doing this. It's worse than having your money in a regular bank account, okay? Because you're getting paid really no interest at all. So please don't make that mistake. Now, one of the habits that I see people are doing when it comes to investing that could be costing them a lot of money is not opening accounts early enough, okay? Now, you know you should have your retirement accounts, but one account in particular, the Roth IRA, has a limit on when you should be opening it. Not well, I'll phrase it this way. There is an amount of time in the Roth IRA, which is 5 years, that you can start taking the money out that has been growing in that account. Now, the Roth IRA is a post-tax account, meaning that you put money in that's already been taxed. Now, the money that you put into that account has been already taxed, so you can take that money out anytime you want. It won't be taxed again, right? But as that money is growing in that account, you cannot withdraw from that account until you're 59 and a half without having hit a penalty of 10%, right? And paying taxes on that money. But the thing is, once you're over 59 and a half, you can withdraw that money and not have to pay taxes or a penalty on it. But the problem is, if you don't have that account open for at least 5 years, you're going to end up paying income tax on the money in there, which easily could have been avoided because you could have had it open earlier. So don't miss out by opening up a Roth IRA too late. And then when you need to take that money out and you hit the proper age, don't let them start taxing you on that money if you can avoid it. Open it up before the 5 year rule before you start using it. Okay.
Yeah, the Roth IRA or the IRA is a great account, but there's rules around it. So you have to be aware of the rules so that you can actually use it more to your advantage. Another investing habit that a lot of people are actually doing, not realizing that it's costing them, is actually outsourcing all their investment information and also their investments to a professional. So, like a
Mm.
financial advisor. There's two hidden costs with that. One is a cost you're paying in fees that you might not realize are actually higher than you think. Even a 1% fee left over a long enough time horizon can compound and make what would be and could be a seven-figure investment portfolio to a six-figure one. Not only that, you're left in the dark. If you don't know why your money is being invested and what is being invested in, then you're going to be dependent, constantly dependent on that professional to tell you exactly what he or she wants to tell you, and then you have to believe it. Here's the thing: no one is going to care about your money more than you, and no one should care about your money more than you do. So if you're going to pay a fee, at least pay it, and also at the same time learn how to invest and be financially literate, so that if you're going to actually go to a professional to manage your money, do that out of convenience, not out of necessity, because being dependent and left in the dark is not something anybody should want when it comes to their money.
I would say I completely agree with that because I see it happen too many times. But I would say another common investing habit that people have that is cost, and I know for a fact it's costing you money, is leaving your money invested at an old employer after you left that place for years, right? Now, I was guilty of this years ago, but I said, you know what? It's probably better off for me to leave it there until I figure out what I want to do with it. But there's so many people who change jobs very often now, and you have retirement accounts at these jobs that you started out with, but you're just leaving there and leaving them idle. It's better for you to roll that over to an IRA or do something instead of forgetting about it and not understanding that maybe you may not have enough in that account. Maybe it's getting eaten up in fees, whatever. Maybe they changed the custodian and you're not keeping up with it. If you're leaving your employer, it's not a hard thing to roll it over to an IRA or open up another account at your new employer, start investing there, and then making sure you keep an eye on the account that you have at the ex employer and figuring out what you want to do with it instead of just leaving it there and completely forgetting about it. If you roll it over to an IRA, you have more flexibility in what it comes to what you need to invest in or what you want to invest in. Leaving it at an ex employer is only better than not investing at all, but you could be doing better by making sure that you're not leaving it at the employer and actually losing money because you could be doing more with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things I also say when it comes to that leaving money at an ex-employer. One, out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things we have to keep track with, and so many times life is going to be lifing. We met people who have forgotten they had accounts. That's money that is sitting there that you totally forgot about, right? So actually, when you pay attention to it and you put it somewhere and you start consolidating things, it makes it easier for you to manage. The second point is that when it comes to leaving money at an old employer rather than actually focusing on it, you have to take that step out because yes, when you transition to a new job, you're gonna have some ramp up time where you have to focus on that new job. But you need to take that extra step to actually roll over the money so that you can actually have, like Nadia said, more flexibility and more control. And you're just not letting that money sit idle and forgetting about it. So just take the time out to actually take care of that and make that as part of your checklist when it goes to moving to your new job and becoming comfortable. That way you can actually get that handled and you can move on without having to worry about those open doors that you have in the past.
Now, guys, do me a favor. Don't take the easy way out and just cash out your old employer's retirement account and not choose to do anything with it. You will lose out on so much money, and that costs a lot of people what they could have been growing in their portfolios. Okay, so do me a favor. Instead of just cashing it out and say, I'll make it easier on myself, look into rolling it over. Now, Nicole, what's another habit that could be costing them?
Now, I say another habit. I know we're going through a lot, guys. So if this is sounding a little complicated, feel free to rewind this video back as many times as you want. And also, if you want to learn more about what Nadia and I do and how we think when it comes to investments, I really invite you to join our free email list that we call the Wealth Pack. That's where we share our money management tips and also our investing tips and the way we think when it comes to finances. So if that's something you're interested in, the link is down in the description. Now, back to the investing habits that are really costing people money that might seem like something that's natural to do, but it actually hurts you in the long run would be what I call FOMO, right? That's trying to get these home runs when it comes to investing. People like to take stock tips and think, okay, this stock is poised to be hot. It's hot right now. It's going to make me a lot of money. I need to get in right now. And you're doing it without doing your research. Recently, the Financial Times actually brought out an article about a pump and dump scams that are actually creeping up more in popularity when it comes to penny stocks. Penny stocks are notorious for people wanting to get in on something they believe is going to skyrocket and make them a lot of money. The problem with that is when you're buying stuff without doing your own research and you're trying to hit home runs, you're actually playing a game where you're actually missing out on opportunities that might seem more boring, but actually gives you a chance to actually build wealth. While you're trying to chase these home runs, the persons that are hitting the base hits are actually building wealth. So if you want to build wealth, don't get caught up in FOMO. Don't buy stocks that are like penny stocks that you cannot actually understand what they're doing and you're trying to score a home run by getting in early and then actually making the big win when you sell the stock. That only works once in a while if you're lucky, and it actually hurts you in the long run for the majority of investors that really don't know how to actually play that game.
Now, that was a good point. I will say there's a other point that's almost on the other side of that, and that is waiting until you feel like you have enough to start investing, right? That is costing you thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and let me explain why. Here's the deal. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the story, the grasshopper and the ant. I've been explaining this to my son, right? The ants work all year long making sure they have enough food put away for the winter and making sure they're set up for the winter. But throughout the whole year, the grasshopper is playing around, playing around, playing around, and not doing his work. But then when the winter comes around, the grasshopper has nothing to eat and he's suffering. And that was because he pushed off everything until it was time to actually have to do it. When it comes to investing, you don't want to do that. Time is your one of your greatest assets, okay? So if you can, it's better for you to start investing a little bit at a time instead of waiting until you have a bulk amount invested. Small amounts invested over time are going to be greater than one bulk investment that you're going to invest in. And you're missing out on actually allowing compounding to actually help you grow your money in the market. Okay. It's almost like having a partner grow your money with you. Don't wait out and say, I'm going to save up until I have enough money to start investing and then I'll start investing. There's no reason to wait to say you need a couple of thousands of dollars to start investing because you're actually costing yourself a lot more by not investing at all.
True, true. I totally agree with that. Now, I think the last point, or at least the last one of my points, would be what everyone always says is selling based on emotion. We
Mm.
know the stock market could go up and down, and it does take a toll, and it takes some emotional resilience to actually stay in it. But if you're selling based on emotions, the hidden cost that you're actually doing is one, you're going to probably lock in losses if you're selling when the market is going down. And then also, you're going to miss the rebound because typically, the biggest rebounds actually happen after a large downturn. So if you're selling based on emotion and you're locking in losses because you sold less than what you bought for, that's one bad thing. But then you don't know when you're going to get back in. There's actually a stat that JP Morgan actually put out that says missing just the 10 best days in the market actually can cut your returns over 20 years in half. So you got to be in the market and be able to withstand those ups and downs so that you can capitalize on the growth that can happen on the long term. But you can only do that if you try to be more rational rather than emotional when it comes to your investments. So don't just sell based on emotion and because you're scared. Have some reasoning behind it and also know that you have a plan as to why you're doing it. If it's just on emotions, you're going to be hurting yourself more than you'll be helping yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say another habit that is costing people thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars is not reviewing your portfolio. It's one thing to start investing, which is great, but as you're going through life, what you're investing in should change. Your risk tolerance is going to change. The things you need are going to change. So should your portfolio. For instance, if you're closer to retirement, make sure you're not in all stocks, okay? Because that is too volatile for the period of your life that you're in. You have to look at the type of risk you can take and handle based on your age or based on what your objectives are, and then make sure your portfolio is doing that. I've seen so many people invest in something and just keep investing without thinking about it and not sitting back and say, hey, is this investment the right one for me at this stage in my life or at this period in my life? Maybe you were investing more aggressively before you started a family, and now you need to make sure that your capital is a bit more protected. That is when you start looking at what you need to do to start adjusting your portfolio so that it is lasting for you to make long term wealth. There's so many people who forget to look at what they're actually investing in to make sure that are still the right investments for them. So that's what I warn people, especially when you're a beginner and you want to make sure you're not making mistakes with your money. Make sure you're in the right securities that are right for your objectives and your stage of life.
Well, actually, Nadia, I'm going to kind of disagree with you on your point because even though age should be a big factor when it comes to what you should decide in your portfolio, not everyone at the same age is in the same uh, situation, right?
I agree.
If you've done well in another part of your life and you have a stack of money and you still want to grow it, I don't think having stocks is an issue for that person. But if you definitely need that money to live on and you're looking for that money to be the money you live on, then yes, you should be more conservative with that. So it also depends not just on age, but there's different factors, not just your risk tolerance, but what other means of money and what your lifestyle is that also determines what you should be customizing your portfolio with. So there's a lot of different factors there. So yeah, age is important, but it should not be the only factor when it comes to developing what your investment portfolio is. So that might be a mistake, just thinking I'm 60 years old, so therefore that's it. I got to do what a 60-year-old does. If you're not the same as another 6-year-old, then you don't have to exactly do the same things. It can
No,
still be
I
more
agree. I said
customized to your
also,
needs.
it also depends on what your objectives are and what your life situation is. If you have kids, if you have more
Okay.
responsibility, you have to make the decision on what is in your portfolio and what's right for you.
True. Now, when you're talking about this, you actually made me think of another one, and it's about having the shiny object syndrome, right? And it's switching constantly between different strategies, right? First, you have to have the strategy that you're going to come up with to get your portfolio. But then, if you're constantly switching, you're never allowing that portfolio to actually show you what it can do based on the strategy you pick. So, if one week you're doing options, and the next week you're doing day trading, and the next week you decide to go long term, you're not going to benefit for anything, right? You have to give your portfolio a chance to actually show you what it can do based on the strategy you have picked. On top of that, you're going to have so many learning curves if you keep trying to learn every single strategy that is out there when it comes to investing. So you should just pick one, become an expert in that, and then if you want to play around with different things, then you can do so. But trying to manage and become a jack of all trades will not help you. So try to pick one strategy, stick with it, see if it works, and then if you're comfortable with your level of mastery, comfortable with your level of performance, or you're not comfortable, then switch. But trying to learn too many things, you're just going to hit that learning curve again, and your portfolio will suffer.
Yeah, and I will let this with the last Sabbath that may be costing you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, is not subscribing to the Wealth Twins YouTube channel and sharing these videos and watching them all the way through. Okay. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we love that you guys watch our videos, but we know there are people who are watching our videos and still not subscribed. So that could be costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars because you might miss a video that could be the one to change everything for you. So if you guys like this video, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.